The Struggling Artist Record Club is a vinyl record subscription service where I hunt and curate the best punk and punk-adjacent music out there and mail their record to your door each and every month. Imagine finding your new favorite band from across the country without ever having to leave the house. It doesn't get much better than that. The excitement of discovering new music just got that much easier. As a member of the Struggling Artist Record Club, you are going to receive some of the best music you've ever heard from bands you may never even heard of. Whether you've been collecting records for years or just starting out, the Struggling Artist Record Club is designed specifically for you. And right now, all new members get a Struggling Artist Record Club exclusive along with the monthly selection. So head to StrugglingArtistRecordClub.com, pick a membership, and start building that collection today. RTT and Some Studios presents Ken and Chris's annual Birthday Bash on Saturday, February 22nd at Faces Brewing Company, Malden, Massachusetts, featuring live music from KCUF. With special guests Megan from Work and MK Naomi. Be sure to be at Faces Brewing Company in Malden, Mass, Saturday, February 22nd for Ken and Chris's annual Birthday Bash. Doors at 8 p.m., $10 cover.
You're listening to the Struggling Artist Podcast.
People need to be entertained. They need the distraction.
With your host, Trev Allen.
I wish to God that somebody would do something to block out the voices in my head for 5 minutes.
Hello, everybody. Today, our guest is Tim and Mike from the Boston-based band Damndest. They do this like shoegazy post-punk kind of thing. Good stuff. What a great conversation this was. Stick around to the end of the episode to hear a song from them. This is episode 319 of the Struggling Artist Podcast, Struggling with Damndest. I checked out your stuff a while ago, and then I made a note, and then I lost the note, and then I came back to it when I reached out again to book you guys. Tell me something about Damndest. It's very atmospheric, Like to me, it's almost like world building, right? It's bringing me, when I listen to it, like I'm in a different place.
I love to hear that.
Not like psychedelically or anything about that, but like I can see in my mind, like, and it could be the storyteller in me, I don't know, but like I can see like everything. I don't know. It just the vibe of it and everything. It just seems like it's different for me. Like when I'm listening to it, you know. With that said, like, is that what shoegaze is? I don't know what shoegaze is. And I know it's like you guys kind of have that, like one of those tags on your Bandcamp for shoegaze and everything. So what is that? What is shoegaze? And then we'll go back to what you guys do, because I think it's very unique, I think.
Yeah, shoegaze was rooted out of an late 80s, early 90s scene that started in England at the time, mostly really reverb and effects driven. So bands like My Bloody Valentine, Slow Dive, Jesus and Mary Chain, things like that. I think what we do is definitely kind of a mixture of that and then like post-punk. So when you hear that ethereal sounding vocals and whatnot, that's the shoegaze side, and some of the leads are more post-punk driven. So I think it's kind of a medley of the two of them.
Okay, yeah. I like that.
For me, it's just lots of effects. Yeah, like we love effects, and there can never be too much reverb.
No doubt. So this is a project, you guys started this in 2023, right?
Yeah, we did. It was interesting. A friend of ours was starting a little home recording studio, and at the time, he was like, "Oh, check this out! I just started this," and he's like, "You should come record." And I said, hey, man, would you be down with doing a couple of songs? I've got a couple of ideas rolling through my head. He's like, yeah, let's do it. I hit a few people up, and Tim was the first call because him and I had worked together in 2016 on Alana, who sings back up with us, her original band. So we met just by chance back then and hit it off. And it just over the years have just been sending song ideas back and forth and never had a way to really do it. So when we went to the Sky studio, it was instantaneous. Like the first song we had done that afternoon. Just like a full song. Just done.
Wow. Yeah.
And we said, do you want to do this as a full band? It's like, yeah, let's just do it. Every week we'd meet up and have another song done. I mean, written in the room. And these are some of the songs you're hearing on those songs.
Yeah.
Those on Spotify now are those ideas. And it's just evolved. And that guy ended up moving to Australia. He went and got married. And we've just carried on. And Tim's an awesome drummer himself. So we've just kind of carried on that way.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So is the project just you two, or is it you guys and then there's other people that like, so some like, are they featured or are they part of the band as well?
I mean, it's mostly just us two, or, you know, and then we had Frankie was playing drums on some of the songs. Alana's pretty much sang on most of the songs. But, you know, a lot of the songs, like Mike was saying, came back from when we were in that period where we were just coming in week after week, just writing songs. Like we accumulated a ton of songs in a very short amount of time. And then it was just a matter of like buttoning them all up and adding, you know, backing vocals and synthesizers and anything else. So, you know,
not comparing ourselves to the Beatles, but we've sort of taken the McCartney-led approach of like Tim writes one, I back up his song. I write one, Tim backs that up. And we've just sort of gone back and forth that way of like, all right, let's do one of yours. Let's do one of mine. And it's just sort of worked out where I've never in my life had someone compliment everything I do so well. And hopefully he feels like I do his songs justice. But it's just been like, Tim, you get an idea? He comes in and I'm like, yep, you nailed it. That's exactly what we were looking for.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Now, have you guys, like, so you guys did a project together in 2016. Was that the end of that project? Like, did you guys really not have anything going on until now or until 2023? Or were you guys doing other things as well?
I think between that time and up till now, I don't know, like, yeah, you were working on some stuff. I was working in different bands. I had just started learning how to play the drums. So I was working in a band, Emerald Comets, great band. I, you know, did some work with other bands too. And, you know, just kind of the years went by. But
yeah, and I did a project called Whole Transfer. That was sort of my like dump of ideas for a long time. And another guy would come in and sometimes work on the records with me, but for the most part, I would just be putting them out. But it was just by myself, and I never had somebody to kind of counterbalance it. And they were also, I wouldn't give myself the credit that I was that good at home recording, to be honest. And stepping in with these guys is up to that a lot.
So you guys are DIY then? Like you guys do all your recordings yourselves and you mix, master, engineer. And I think I saw some of that on the...
We don't mix and master it. We have a guy do that for us, but we do all the recording ourselves.
All the recording itself, yeah. What goes into like, so when people record, right, and they have a sound guy that's working with them, it's sometimes it's easy to let go and let that person kind of figure it out, right? Because like, you know, when I always, with like work and stuff like that, like you can't QA your own work, you know what I mean? But with art, it's a little bit different, right? So for you guys, is it easier or harder for yourselves to step in and be like, all right, we got to fix this, we got to do that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know if it's easier or harder. I don't know. I mean, that's a hard one. I don't think it's difficult personally. I mean, when we'll come in, we'll have kind of the guitars, bass, drums, and then, you know, Michael just noodle around with ideas and land on an idea. And it's great to have, like, I'm there saying, oh, that sounds awesome. And it'll kind of be the opposite with, you know, Michael have a song and then I'll be noodling around and then he'll say, that's the thing right there. I love that. And then we'll just kind of go from there. So being able to record and experiment all at the same time is probably part of it.
Yeah, I have like, it's just like a total amount of trust that if Tim says this sounds good, I believe him. Like it you know, and even if I I think we've gotten hung up a couple of times on things, but we've always landed in the right place. Like if it's like, oh, this should come down a little bit more, or this should come up a little bit more. The self-producing part, which I think it would be cool to have a producer sometimes, but we just both have such a similar sense of what we like and similar taste, at least in what we're doing. We might like different bands sometimes, but like what we're doing, it just sort of always lands where you're like, oh yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've been able to self-produce better than you would think.
Yeah, I always think about that because like I write and like I can't edit my own shit. I can't because I'm gonna overlook it over and over. And plus, like I'm not smart. I just have good stories. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you.
I'm just.
I doubt that's true, but I get you.
I get a lot. I just have a lot of stories, so I'm always like send it to the editor and let them do their thing. And like, and even with work, like I remember I went to a job one time that like this is back when I was doing electrical work and. We would build electromechanical. We would build these things and like they go inside of like water plants and stuff like huge devices. And I'm like, how do we not have a QA department to check that? Why am I checking my own work? And like, and then they had to make one because I was like, you guys shouldn't be doing this. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. So sure. It kind of start, so like I think about that with music and stuff. Like, is it safer to have someone else like get the input but it seems like you guys have really good chemistry. So it just kind of lands where it lands. That's awesome.
And I think because we each take turns with songs, it's almost like I have somebody now kind of doing that, and he has somebody now.
Yeah.
Like when he brings a song in, if something doesn't sound, I mean, I think we've got enough, no offense, none taken, feelings towards anything that it's like, ooh, I don't know, that one thing isn't, I think we could do better on that. And even though we haven't had a lot of it, but I think we have that the other person would be like, you know what, you're probably right. Let's try it a different way. So we kind of can produce each other's stuff a lot.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because he'll come in, like he came in with the song Shimmer. He had most of it done. He was like, do you have a guitar part? And we just banged it out in the room that day.
Yeah.
Just
honestly, I wish we had it on video because Mike will just sit down and like, I feel like it just spills out. It's just a really incredible thing to do.
Yeah, I'm sure you've heard the whole idea about, genius doesn't exist within somebody. You're just an antenna for the ideas.
Yeah.
And we've just been very lucky, the antennas, when we get in the room, it's like, I don't feel like I'm doing it half the time. It's like, oh, this is just part just came to us. Mm-hmm. And he does it too. It's like, well, did you just come up with that? He's like, I don't know. Yeah. Like, wow. Okay. Never expected that. That's amazing.
Yeah. That's awesome. So when you guys are writing and do you both have different approaches or is your approach to writing the same too?
I think our approach is pretty similar.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot from Mike about writing songs and composing songs and stuff like that. That's something I've gotten out of this whole process. I get to, siphon off a lot of stuff from Mike and his process. So I've benefited a lot from that.
I had a really close friend who unfortunately passed away recently, but he showed me home recording a while back, and he was a drummer. And he would work backwards to the front sometimes. So he'd come up with a drum beat first and we'd work off of that. And that was something that I've found to be priceless in writing because sometimes I'll say, oh man, I listened to a cool Billy Idol song and I want to get something with a driving beat. Just the idea. So I'll program a driving beat or pull a loop off. And then I'll work from the bass and then I'll get the guitar and just do a lead over it. Stuff like that will work sometimes great. And then sometimes I'll just pick up the acoustic guitar and you noodle around for a few minutes and suddenly you're like, oh, these two chords. And then the next thing you have a whole song. So I can go from either approach. And I think Tim does the same. And it's just, I've never had a dry well. It's always there. If you just stick at it. And if it's not, come back in a half hour. It'll probably be there.
Yeah. So how many, so I know you guys you've had quite a few releases between 2023 and now, but like how many songs are in the treasure chest, as I like to call it?
Well, we have 2 more coming out on the 24th. So we're doing I guess we're going to call it an EP. Is anything over 1 song, I guess, is an EP?
Yeah. Sure.
And then we have probably about 5 or 6 ready to go after that, right?
Yeah.
So 5 or 6 more after that. And then we're just talking tonight earlier about we're going to do a little doc on the writing of the next 2 songs we're going to do. So we'll make a little documentary out of that just to kind of show you this process.
That's a cool idea, actually. Yeah. I
think people are kind of into the behind the scenes. I know I love that stuff. I love to sit down and watch a band's This Is Us in the Studio. That, you know, the Beatles when they had that 9 hours, and I was shocked that people liked it as much as they did, because sometimes they're just goofing around trying to figure out an idea.
Yeah.
Like, well, that is what it's like. You're just sitting there trying to figure this idea out. But yeah, people loved it.
Yeah. I had a writing project when it was a screenplay, and it was the first time I ever wrote with like other people. So like we recorded all of our sessions together, you know what I mean? Just to kind of have something to go back to, and like, yeah. And then we all kind of dropped the ball on it, and then I finished it years later.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm like, I'm just gonna.
Is it up online somewhere?
No.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, not that one.
Send it to us.
Yeah, it was weird because like I remember when, up until the point that we had it written, like there was like a couple characters they didn't have their own like real identity, and then when I went back, it was like 8 years back when I went back to it, and totally fleshed out those two characters, and they became like real prominent within the screenplay and everything. So it was a cool thing though. And I gave it to the guys. I'm like, hey, like here, I finished it. Like if you, whatever you want to change, we can change. And they were like, nah, dude, this is yours now. Like he did a good job with it. So
when you sit down with an idea, do you usually sit down with the overall theme, or do you start with a character? How do you usually start a screenplay?
Ooh, so the big thing with the podcast is I'm trying to figure out how to write a song, because I don't know how. I always say once I ask everybody, I grill everybody about their writing process.
Sure.
And like, I feel like once I'm able to write a song, I'll just end the podcast, because it's like, poof, you know.
I kind of love that. That's a great explanation for why you do this. That's awesome. You're mining how to do it.
Because I love music so much, and I have no musical talent whatsoever, none. I can't play an instrument, nothing. So it's just to me, and I feel like that's how my brain works. Like I love the things that I can't figure out.
Sure.
I was a terrible baseball player, and I loved baseball. Like I would watch every game if I could, every major league game.
I'm right there with you.
Football, yeah. Football. Yeah. I was pretty decent at football. I can't stand watching NFL. Never could. There was like a couple years where I tried to, and I'm like, I'm just drinking. Like I can just do this without being at the bar and yelling at a television. I can just go home and drink. You know what I mean? So
totally.
So with writing, the way it works for me with the creative process is I see things as like a motion picture in my head. When I get an idea, I don't hear the sounds or nothing like that. Like I get this idea, and that's it runs through my head, probably like and just think of like a whole movie just runs through your head instantly. And like now I have my beginning, my middle, and my end. Now I got to figure out the rest that goes inside. That's kind of how I write. I've taken a step back from screenplays. So I finished something that by the end of it, I realized it's not going to be a screenplay. It's going to be a lot longer. So, but I used the screenplay format to write the first draft when I was like, this kind of works. You know what I mean? And then I just got to fill everything in from there. Yeah, it's kind of weird how I had a dream. So I had an idea for something in 2001. And I wrote an outline. I actually wrote like an outline, like, all right, this is how it's going to progress. But I had nothing, like, I just couldn't figure it out. So I just forgot about it. 2013, I had a dream about it, and I woke up and started writing it. And then I put it back down. And now the thing that I finished last year, I realized recently is just another version of that. So I actually did it. You know what I mean?
That's awesome. Yeah. It's just the idea kept persisting over time.
Yeah. So, because I feel like I can't, especially when it comes to like writing for me, I can't force anything. Once I force something, like I could tell,
Yeah.
So I don't know. How is it?
Just having that same feeling. We were just talking about that earlier. It's like the Struggling Artist podcast. I was just saying, for me, the struggle is finding the time to get the art into life. And you can't decide when you're going to be feeling creative.
Yeah. That's it. You can't. Like I've spent, life gets in the way sometimes, like, or my own brain. Like I went through like 7 years of not writing because like, I was like, this is stupid. I'm never going to do anything with this. I need to focus on work. And I was in my 20s, and I was the most miserable son of a bitch anyone had ever met. Like, I was angry all the time. You know what I mean? Like, it was like crazy. And then I didn't realize it until I was into my 30s that, like, hey, this is part of me. Like, this is the reason why I was so angry for all those years, because I wasn't able to get it out.
Yep.
You know? And I feel like music's the same way. So that's why, like, there's such a huge connection between, like, storytelling and music, because music is a version of storytelling. And, like, it just blows my mind how somebody can get an entire story out in, 2 to 4 minutes, and it makes sense. And then to me, like, I can't do that.
No, I know what you mean. I think we all do have our sort of mediums, and those people that can do all of them drive me crazy, because how lucky are they? But
yeah.
And it's weird because when there's songwriting, there are the people like the Springsteens or the Dylans who can tell the actual lyrical story, where it's like, I've never been great at that, but I want to make I want you to feel it in that 3 or 4 minutes.
You do, though, with your
telling
stuff.
A story through feeling,
yeah.
Less than like, I have an idea of where the lyrics are supposed to go, but what you said, and then it starts playing out in your head, is the coolest thing I've ever heard. Like, that's what I'm trying to do, is create that feeling for you.
Yeah, your guys, like
soundtracking.
It's very atmospheric. Yeah, it's like a score. It's like having a score. Yeah. Just and I don't think it's like, when I mean, like I said, I'm not like hallucinating when I put it on. That's, I have substances for that, but when I'm listening to it, because like I said, it's just so atmospheric to me that, like, I can picture this world, and it's got like these vibrant colors, and and it might be the real world. I don't know. My glasses are terrible, so I need to see the world in high definition. You know what I mean? Sure. But like, yeah, it has that whole vibe. Like, I can just sit there, and I think your music would be awesome to like write a story to because of that. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. Cool. Well, I'm excited for you to hear. I don't know if I think I forgot to send you the next 2 songs coming out. Because I think they even go even deeper.
Yeah.
Until you're free and nesting doll.
Oh yeah, you've heard that.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
okay,
I still have your EPK. It's all hooked in there.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
Good.
I feel like we dive even deeper into the atmosphere on.
You definitely do. And that's a good segue, because I wanted to talk about those 2 songs, because this will come out a week or so after they drop, so it'll be a good like reminder for people to go back and listen to it. You know what I mean?
Awesome.
So
Yeah, cool.
let's talk about those songs. Tell me, like, when was like when was the process started to write those ones? What were you going for? You know what I mean?
Do you want to start with?
I mean, Until You're Free was a while ago.
It was actually funny. That was when we started that process to record that initial songs. The drummer was like, hey, do you remember this demo we did like 2 years before that? I was like, no, we played it. And I'm like, holy shit, did I really write that? I'm not trying to compliment. I just was surprised. I'm like, and then I started playing it and I go, yeah, those are my instincts. Like the chords, everything makes sense, but I had completely forgotten about it. We were like, holy let's go for this.
Yeah.
So we just kind of added a melody into the top of it. And when Alana came in and sort of did the soprano bass sort of like atmosphere, like layered, I was like, oh my God. And it doesn't follow a, normal structure of verse, chorus, verse. It just trails off into that mesh of guitars. And then Tim was like, oh, why don't we do this little guitar? He shows me it. I was like, Jesus, man. It just kept like stacking layers of like, this keeps getting better.
Yeah. I mean, that song was super inspiring. I mean, that was probably the longest time that I had spent trying to come up with like guitar lines on a song. I would like come to the song and I'm like, no, that's not quite right. Like, and I would leave. A day later, I'd come back. I'd try something. Yeah, okay, that's the idea. I spent a long time on that song. It's such a good song.
No, it is. I liked both of them a lot, and they definitely have like I don't know. They definitely go a little bit deeper, right? They and like all the songs are good and they're very atmospheric, but these ones, the latest, because I went and listened to because I went and listened to those today, and then I was like, I got to go back, and I went back and I started listening to everything else, because like I said, like you could like there's a little bit of a different vibe, like feel or deeper feel to them for sure, and that's cool. That's awesome, because like that just means like you can go that much further. I feel like you guys have had like the evolution of the music that you guys have put out in the last 2 years. It's not like drastically different, but you can just feel it more, you know?
Do you know what I think it's like? I use The Cure as a reference a lot, where it's like they can do a lot of different stuff, but you always know it's The Cure. And hopefully we're sort of accomplishing that where
you definitely
like Heaven was poppy and oh my god, I'm forgetting our song names.
The
Blight was more introspective and Behind was kind of almost dancey. And it's just they sort of just took on different
identities.
But I think you always know it's us.
No, you definitely do. Like you have, it's distinct, right? It's like you guys, I know it's you guys from listening to what I have. Yeah, for sure.
And then Tim came in with Nesting Doll, and it was just another one of those things where we just sat in the room and the idea was there and they're like, this is awesome. And it was just another one of those like, what if we put a sample here? What if we did this? And then once we turned the guitars up and the bass came, it was just one of those things that like every single layer on both of them, that's I think where the deeper feeling comes from, is that we just like sort of layered and layered. And then Alana, of course, she's another one that just like you put her in it and you're like, what are you going to do with this? And she does it in like 1 or 2 takes and you're like, oh my God.
It's never like, oh, why don't you do this or why don't you do that? She just sits and like marinates with the song and then will come in and just lay it down and you're like, okay, that was amazing.
So you guys give no direction.
You just, the song just went from here to like here.
So you give her no direction. You just give her the song, and then she comes back with it.
Yeah, no direction whatsoever. She did the same with.
There's got to be something. That's got to be it. That's got to be like the formula. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just that's awesome.
It's just it's like when you're making a recipe. If you get the right ingredients, you can maybe change it a little bit here and there. But if the core ingredients are great, and the three of us have just been able to do this, so because Alana came in after the songs were sort of written, and she's just like the spice on the top. It's like, oh my God, like without this, it's kind of a plain sandwich, but she just takes it to like the next level. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. It's funny that you say with Nesting Doll, like the layers, because like the video that I saw for it that you guys have in your EPK, like it feels like layers. You know what I mean? Like, because it's like those little I don't know what they're called, the little
nesting dolls.
Yeah. Oh, that's that. Yeah, they're all right, nesting dolls. Yeah. So like it feels like layer because that's what those are, right? They're just layer after layer. And that's when I was listening to that. That's when I was like, I was kind of sitting here and I was just vibing with it, and I was like, that's when I came up with like this whole like, man, this thing is so atmospheric. Like I'm in it. I'm in this world while this song is playing. I'm part of it. It's like it's wild. It's a wild experience.
That's the best compliments we could have got. We love it. Well, now we want you to write something to it. Now your mission's to make the next film.
Yeah, that would be cool. Vibrant color. I'll have to turn like these little purple color. I'll have to have everything set to a certain way. It's weird, man. It's weird. It's weird how I write. I gotta have like I have the one that the screenplay that I finished that's going to be something bigger. I wrote a soundtrack, not wrote one, but like I made a playlist that I called the soundtrack for it, and like it would just go through these songs, and at different parts, like I'm like, oh, this is when this song, like in my head, you know what I mean? I'm like, this is what I'm hearing for this part, for this like this part of the book or this part of the story, or whatever.
I heard Tarantino does something similar where he'll like start with songs sometimes and then writes to them.
That makes sense. Yeah. He's a decent writer. I don't know. I don't. I think him and Kevin Smith, they get all the credit in the world for what they did for the independent film industry. But I just don't particularly like Kevin Smith has a lane, and when he gets out of that lane, like his writing doesn't fit it. For me, he's very dialogue driven. Tarantino, I'm okay with. I've got beef with him, but okay. But no, you're right. It's like it's if you can do that, and his stuff is set up like that. I feel like his stuff could be the worlds he builds are like they suck you in too. Like so, I can see why like a song or something would help with that.
Sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Who's your biggest influence then as a screenwriter?
Oh man, I think Scott Rosenberg is a really good screenwriter. He wrote Beautiful Girls. Okay. He wrote he's written crazy like action screenplays too, which you would never think given like some of his other stuff. But Shane Black's really good at screenwriting. He's got something wrong with him with Christmas Time, but that's for therapy. And Jonathan Troper's done a really good job. Jonathan Troper's also like one of my favorite novelists too.
Oh, cool.
He's done an amazing job creating television and movies and stuff. And like, I'm like, save some talent for the rest of us, pal.
Yeah, right,
you know,
yeah.
like, yeah. So those are, you know, it's weird for me with movies. Like you go for directors, like I love like Walter Hill does everything about me is about world building, and like Walter Hill does a hell of a job with like The Warriors or Streets of Fire. You know what I mean?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, again, I'm a storyteller. So like I listen to things and then like I just get like sucked, especially with music. And sometimes I'm wrong. Well, not that I'm wrong, but like it wasn't what the musician was doing, you know, which is fine because like music's subjective, right? It's how you take it on, right? So
I think of music as like a photograph, a snapshot in time of a feeling. So this is like the way I felt when I read a song. It's like a heartbroken song, whatever. That's how I felt in that minute. I'm not going to feel that way for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
That song now belongs to you.
Yes.
Now, your heartbreaking 25 years from now, you might hear that song and go, yeah, I relate to this. And I'm sitting here going, I don't remember that girl at all, you know, whatever, possibly. But that's how I felt in that moment. So I think once you write it, it doesn't belong to you anymore. Now it's like to say to you, like, well, this is what it's about. It's like, that's kind of, I don't know.
Yeah. So, well, I guess it's more so like I'll take an album and like I'll get something out of it and I'll feel like, oh, is this like did you order do the track order because of this and this, and they're like, no, not that. They're like, that's awesome, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
But like they're like, no, we weren't thinking about that at all. And I was like, oh man, that's great, you're just talented. I got to think about it, you know? So, all right. So with that said, all right. So you guys have dropped mostly singles, right? You don't have an album out there, right?
No.
All right.
No,
all right.
yeah.
Good. Because like all I have is like your EPK and then Bandcamp. I don't use the other streaming services all that much. So.
Oh, okay.
So I was just making sure I didn't miss something out there. You know what I mean?
No, we're still talking about that. After I think we release all these singles, we're thinking like maybe we'll bundle them together and do like a bigger release with, I don't know, some extras.
So I had I have a friend of mine who's a musician and he's got a great band, and he did that this past year. He released a single every month, and then now throughout, or well, I guess it was 2024, and now he's going to drop it as an album with something extra. He said, as far as getting your music out there through the streaming services, that is the best way to do it.
Yeah, because every song's an event this way. Whereas if I put out 10 songs at once, or if Tim or us obviously put out at once, and we're new, what are you gonna get? 2 listens and everybody moves on. You know what I mean? So it's like, or you might get through the first 2 songs and you might not listen. But this way, we get to just slowly bring you in, one release at a time, and then hopefully one day you'll go, oh, this is the song that got us into Damndest, and now we're ready for the album. You know?
Yeah. I can't wait to hear an album just so I can just sit there for a total of, you know, I don't know, 30 minutes, 40, whatever it is, to get like the feel of everything, you know, at once, one big shot, you know?
For sure. Because I think that we have songs they're going to throw another loop around too. We have some like upbeat kind of punkier songs that we haven't even gotten to yet. I'm trying to remember all the ones we have. Some of them are more upbeat coming up too. So it's going to kind of go for like a little circle. It'll cohesively tell a story, I think, at the end when we piece them together, but single by single, you might be like, oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Now, is Damndest like, is the sound that you guys have had in the past with other bands, is anything like this, or is this a completely different animal?
Feels different to me. Yeah, I don't think most of the other bands I've worked with sounded like this.
I think it's like a culmination of all the bands I did that kind of finally got the sound right. It's like when Radiohead did In Rainbows, it seemed like they were pulling all their albums and they finally like, oh, here's that song we were trying to make all along, even though all their albums are awesome.
Yeah.
But like my early 2000s band, I think had like post-punk elements in like more of like an emo sort of atmosphere. And then I did some heavier shoegaze with that whole Transfer project. And I even played an Americana band for a while, so I wouldn't say that influenced this. But yeah, those 2 bands sort of brought me here, I would say.
I mean, I'm sure there's a subconscious element to it all, too. you're just influenced by all the music you've consumed and created. So even though when you say that, I'm like, oh, I don't think it sounds anything. There has to be elements all throughout all these songs that are coming from all of the bands that I've worked with, all the music I've consumed over the years, over the many years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So like right away, when the first song, Mike, that you brought and shared with Tim, was it like that? Was that how was it this sound?
Actually, it was Tim's song that we started with. Oh, it's Tim's song we started with. During COVID, he sent me a message and just said, hey, do you want to work on some music? It was like, yeah, let's do it. And he sent me this song and I was like, what? Like, where did this come from? And I put a guitar part on it and he was like, yeah. So the seed was already there from a while before, but then it just kind of, you know how COVID was, it just dropped away. And when we got together, I was like, hey, let's do that song.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, all right.
So that was the spark that started it.
But Mike, you found the guy that was doing the recordings or whatever.
Yeah, he's a friend I had for a while. Him and I had done music before. So he just told me I started this new recording studio in his house. And I was like, I'm going to bring some songs in. But when Tim came in, just because instead of like trying to write in the room, I was like, let's just play one we already know. Mm-hmm. Even though writing in the room became very easy for us to do, we didn't know yet. So it was like, let's just do this one first. And we probably cranked that out in like an hour and a half.
It seems like that's the way to go for you guys too, writing in the room. Like it seems like that seems to be what works the most. So, you know.
Yes.
What about
one of us would just bring in like the bare bones of an idea and then just like build all the layers.
That's awesome. Did so are you guys playing shows at all or anything like that, or?
We were just talking about that tonight. We realized that's probably the next level. We had spent so much time focusing on this songwriting and kind of creating our sound. And it's like, well, I'm realizing there is a limit to just releasing songs, you know, like we're not really, we've noticed that the Boston music scene has taken notice. Like we've gotten some really nice words and people have been very cool. And we just got added to some nice playlists and, you know, all these different things, but we're realizing we're not really part of it at all. And we're like, well, I guess that's going to be the natural progression is to take this live. We just need to kind of figure that out because we don't have a drummer and a bass player. Yeah. So we now have to like sort of figure that out.
Right. I mean, you know, I don't know. Like, I feel like, actually, that's funny because this has been like a topic the last few episodes that I've talked with people is like, I feel like you don't have to do live music until you want to do it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You know, and like, cause like, I mean, I don't think you're limited by not doing it, by doing shows. Someone brought to my attention recently, like that's like the model from the 50s and like it gets embedded in all of our brains, right? Like that's what you got to do. But I mean, until you're ready, I feel like until you want to do it, that's what it's not even about being like ready. It's until it's ready, until you want to do it. Right. I think that's a fine approach, you know?
Yeah. I feel like we took a lot of like the creative energy and just focused it on creating the songs. And, you know, all of that energy that might have been spent like pulling together the live show and, you know, booking shows and everything, it was like, nope, we're just going to like create a body of work. And then, you know, we just didn't even think about playing live shows until probably only recently. We started talking about it. And then it's like, you know what? Now we have, you know, a decent amount of songs. It would be great to go out there and play them.
So I've also seen too, like, and this has been over the last 2 years, and I've talked to a lot of people that do this too. Like they're just duos that go out there and they'll have a drum machine, and sometimes they don't even have a guitar. They're just two bassists playing and they're singing, and it's awesome. You know what I mean? Like I feel like you can make it work. You know, I guess
we do have that nuclear option if we want to use it, where we've had the guy that does our mixing and mastering give us the tracks with just the backing line. But we do have that. I think we both come from the world of wanting to have a drummer, but I think we're going to learn them with a backing track. And if we can't get the drummer and the right opportunity came up,
no doubt.
Like, we're going to do this big show. Do you want to join? It's like, this sounds like a really cool opportunity. We would do it, but I think we also would like to have the drummer option as well. You know, bass player is easy. We can find one of those, no problem. Drummers they're always the hardest part to find because you want somebody that's going to give the songs the proper attention that they deserve, and not just play a drum beat to it. It's like, no, we kind of want you to know how to play the song,
Yeah. So that with that said, I know you said like people have taken notice. I noticed you guys were Vanya Land did a little piece for you guys, right, on you guys, and like I go to Vanya Land quite a bit to look for news and stuff like that. So that's awesome. That's great. That's and you're getting out there. If you're getting out there already without doing the shows, when you do them, I feel like it's gonna be an awesome thing too. Once you get there.
Yeah,
right?
we also want to we've been talking about this, how do we do the show right?
Yeah.
What do we want the show to look like? How do we want to go out there? It's just... you gotta have some kind of atmospheric thing going on because
We're already talking about getting projectors and the lights, and it's like we can't just go with these songs. We can't just go up there and play the songs. We need to make it into an experience.
I tell you what, there are some Boston music community bands out there that do stuff that go all out, and they're friends of mine. I've had them on here before. One is Thou Merciless Graves, very atmospheric and very like sea shanty almost songs, but they have a full production. There's like a sea monster, there's like floating jellyfish. It's cool. It's like, and like that's something you don't see often, and now that it's out there, I'm like, wow, why wasn't this always going on? You know what I mean? Like there's a band called Your Friends in Hell that I'm very good friends with. They do a similar thing, and like they had a half a ween. It was like it was in between, it was the halfway to Halloween, and like they were playing music and people were coming up and playing games. Like they had games going on. Like it's a cool, like you can there's a thirst for that out there. You know what I mean? There's a hunger to see that stuff. So I don't think for one second that like you can't do that. You definitely can,
Oh, cool.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we'll do less shows, but the shows that we do are going to just be bananas.
Yeah.
That's what I think idealistically would be it's an event. It'll be an event. Like it might not be every month, but it'll be an event when it does happen.
Now you guys have some synth in there too, I hear,
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
So is that again, I'm not a person that really knows genres that well. I just call everything rock and roll, right? Everything's just rock and roll. But is that like a post-punk thing? Like kind of like a post-punk kind of thing? Because there's a lot of bands I know that I love and they use that post-punk tag and like they have the synths and they, you know what I mean? They're doing stuff like that.
I think with like a song like My Heaven, which is synth heavy, I was, thinking about the Psychedelic Furs and like New Order and those sounded like, I think they all fall into the post-punk, but they also had like a really pop element of new wave to them as well. And that song at least, but then we used synth in Shimmer too, which is way darker and different. So I think that's more post-punk, I would say.
Yeah. I definitely don't know all the classifications and stuff like that, but it was just like, this song needs something else. Let me there's a synth. Like, let me just do. I'm not a keyboard player. I'm not a piano player, but it was just like, I don't know what's going to sound cool. Oh, those chords go together. I don't know. Just sometimes it works, and sometimes you try that, and you're like, yeah, that just sounded terrible. And the song does not need synthesizer, or at least not from me.
Now, who wrote Until You're Free? Or did I say that right? Until You're Free?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. That was me, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, let's talk a little more about that one. I don't feel like we touched on that one quite yet.
Yeah, that was just I don't know how to describe it. It's like a conversation with yourself. I sort of envisioned it where you're just trying to talk yourself down. So I think that the chaos of the sound is sort of like with the low ethereal vocals is sort of like you're trying to stay calm within the chaos that's happening all around you. But it's also like a beautiful chaos. But it's like, imagine. See, now I'm having to piece my own thoughts together. Like, of how did I come up with this sort of like a panic attack, but you're comfortable in it, like it, so you're just kind of talking yourself through it as all that sort of happens, because there's a lot going on in there.
Yeah,
there's 3 different lead guitar parts, 3 leads at sometimes.
That's why I spent so much time on it. I was like, it's got to be filling just the right places in the song because there is a lot going on. So I can't just noodle around for 4 minutes.
Yeah, that one took one of the longest to mix because it was just like every version back, you're like, yeah, but I just need a little bit more balance on those guitars and to get that to, they're really kind of like almost like not competing against each other, but they're sort of just like your turn, your turn, your turn, your turn. They're just kind of bouncing in and out.
Yeah, and you said that was an older one, right, from a while back.
Yeah, that was found in these archives with the guy Frankie. Him and I had done a record, probably back in like 2017. And then after that, we had met up a couple of times, and he just had these demos that I just had forgotten about. So when he brought them out, I was like, wow, I didn't even realize we had done this. But like I have like certain instincts that I know, like certain chords that I know, like I love them so much that I use them a lot. And I was like, oh yeah, this is good. Yeah. It's like discovering your own song. It was crazy.
That's cool.
It was fun. It was fun.
That is a real struggle, is listening to an old recording that you did 6 months ago and then trying to remember, like relearn.
Yeah.
Like, was this even in normal tuning? If you don't write it down or record yourself doing it, I don't know. I have a really hard time remembering how the heck I played certain things.
I would never show people this, but I have a million videos in my phone of me probably like in my underwear, but I'm like writing out the idea because something will hit me. I'll sit and start playing it, and I'm like, I got to record my hands. But I don't want to have to sit here and figure it out later on. I don't have, my ear's not that good where I'm like, oh, I know exactly the, 6 chords I'm playing here. It's like, no, I want to watch myself.
No doubt.
I have a lot of those videos.
So you got the 2 new singles. They're coming out on you said the 24th, 25th, 24th of January. What's next in the tank for you guys? Like, what were you working on more songs? You said, like, do you have a schedule that you guys are keeping? Like, do you guys put yourself on like a deadline for this stuff, or does this, when it happens, it happens?
Yeah, we were like going for the 1 a month.
Yeah, that's a good model. It's a good model.
We like missed a month, life happens and things get in the way. But we try to stick to like the one a month. We try to like really hit that target. If we don't exactly, well, at least we were like aiming for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're gonna record we're gonna start filming the music video tomorrow night for Until You're Free. And then once we get that done, it's sort of like, okay, we can start thinking about the next 2 songs. Like, do we need to re-record the vocals? What do we need to do to fine-tune that up before we send that to be mixed and mastered? Yeah. And we kind of just start the process again for the next. And I think I liked doing this little mini EP of 2 songs. I think that would be cool to do again.
Yeah,
and just do another one of those.
Yeah, an A side and a B side. Like it's in. Yeah, I think that works. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it gets, and especially like the 2 sides of the coin sometimes. With this one Until You're Free is sort of upbeat. And Nesting Doll's sort of like slower. It was like, this is kind of cool for like a balance to each other. And we'll kind of look through, I think, like Falafel Bros and a couple other songs that we had. All of our songs.
The working titles for some of the songs are just hilarious.
That's awesome.
They're mostly based around peppers, but they're all food based.
Like hot peppers. Every single song was like a different. I started running out of hot pepper names.
Hungarian wax. You got a Hungarian wax pepper in there?
No, but now
we do now. We do now.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Oh, that's great. Do you guys have any I don't know, desire to put out like physical media at all or anything like that? Or
I think it would be great. Yeah.
That was a quick answer from the Tim camp. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm always in Tim camp. So whatever Tim likes, I'm in.
No doubt. I'm sure like once you guys get something, like if you're going to put out like a record, an album or something, you'll have something ready for that.
It would be cool to do like the record and then add songs that hadn't been heard. Yeah. Just new songs to the end.
To give people a reason.
Yeah. That's always a fun thing. That's always a fun little bonus.
I like the photo book ideas that some bands have done, like just to give you, like I like that stuff. I mean, because of course you can look online or you can listen online, but it's kind of cool to give them that physical sort of extra. You have this. I mean, I know certain bands put out a record and I'll buy their album. I'll never actually listen to the vinyl, but I want to own it. So I'll buy certain albums because I'm on the go all the time. I'm always listening to my headphones. I'm not going to sit at the home with a record player as much.
Yeah. It would
be cool to have it.
I had this. I wish I could remember the name of the band. This doom folk band from like somewhere in like the Midwest, and they put out like a hardcover like book to go with their digital album. And like it's almost like an old Western kind of thing, and it works, you know.
That's sick. Yeah, I would love to do something like that. Especially the internet's made things really easy. Like you can self-publish books now. You can do a lot of stuff now that back in the old days, I remember bands where we had to pay thousands of dollars to make the album, and then thousands of dollars to mix and master it, and then print out the CDs, and you're $10,000 in.
Yeah.
And you don't even know who's listening because there was no numbers. I don't love the numbers game now in music where everybody has to see exactly how many listens you get and whatever. I think that's kind of killing it too. But in a way, it's also like it's nice to have the analytics and know it's working.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And I don't. There's like because like even venues now, some venues ask you like, what are your streams like?
Yeah,
none of your fucking business. I'm an asshole. I don't know. I would never like if someone ever said that and like I was there. Like, good thing I don't manage bands or anything because I'd be beating up venue people. It's like how dare you ask that? You know what I mean? Like, do you like the music or not? You know. Well, that's just
it, right? You got to take a chance on people sometimes, and they don't. Nobody wants to take chances anymore. It's like, show us you have 8 million followers on TikTok, or else we're not interested. It's like, well, how am I going to get 8,000 followers on TikTok if we don't get a chance to play? You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. It's like when you go for a job, you need experience. I'm trying to get that, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure. Where can people find you guys on social media? Where can they find your music to purchase or to stream or whatever?
So Instagram, I think it's at Damndest Band. Mm-hmm. Oh, we have different handles. I think on TikTok, what is it? At
Damndest on TikTok.
Okay.
Although we haven't really been keeping it. Most of it's on Instagram for like our presence. Then we have the site too, which is damndestband.com.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, Damndest Band. That's like just we accumulate everything there.
Spotify is just, you'd have to just search Damndest. I don't know what the handle is. And then we do have Bandcamp for buying it, which is Damndest Band.
Cool.
Damndest, but it's not DAMNED. Wait, how?
Yeah,
right.
It's not DAMNED.
Right.
DAMND.
Yes.
My dyslexic brain, I'm like, did I write that wrong? And every time, and then I'm like, no, okay, I did it right. But then
first we thought we made a mistake.
Yeah.
And then we realized that you can spell it both ways. So
yeah.
That's a really
Yeah, I was like, I kept messing it up. I kept like, my brain was like, no, you're spelling it wrong. Because like I'm dyslexic, so on top of it, I'm like worried about that. You know what I mean? So yeah, awesome. Guys, this was great. Thanks for coming on. Like again, I apologize for the couple, moving of days around and everything to get you here. I'm happy you came on. Whenever you guys have stuff coming in the future, hit me up. We'll get you back on. You're part of the family now over here at the Struggling Artist. And if you guys end up doing live shows, let me know too.
We'll keep you definitely posted. Cool. We really, really appreciate this.
Yeah, of course, man. Of course. I like what you guys are doing, and keep doing it, man. Keep building those worlds. Maybe maybe I shouldn't say that. Maybe I'll try some psychedelics while listening and see what happens. Yeah.
Okay.
Let us know how that goes.
I won't say that songs weren't written under the influence of gummies and whatnot. So
guys, I appreciate you coming on. Thank you.
Thanks dude, so much. Appreciate it.
All right, and that's the show. I want to thank Tim and Mike again for being today's guests on the Struggling Artist Podcast. In the show notes, you will find links to all things Damndest. Thank you to Chris Chavez and Jeff Bousquet for being producers of this show. Give them a follow over on Instagram. Jeff is at JRBimage, and you can find Chris at 716 The Sound. Thank you to State Line Records for sponsoring this podcast. Thank you to the band Losers Circle for always allowing us to use their song, The Great Illusion of Time, off of their album Took Long Enough for the theme song to the Struggling Artist Podcast. Everybody over at Patreon, thank you for everything you guys are doing over there, supporting us as your contributions each month help the podcast grow. Are you part of the Patreon? Do you want to see what it's all about? Head to patreon.com/podcast TSA. Tiers are inexpensive. Thank you to everybody who listens to the podcast, reaches out, talks shit, talks good, recommends a band to call or contact us, etc., etc. Again, if we talk about the listeners all the time, like we wouldn't have this if it wasn't for you guys. And thank you for your interactions all the time. If you would like to reach out to Trev at thestrugglingartistpodcast.com is the email to use, as well as the Struggling Artist Hotline, where you can leave a voicemail or a text at 774-570-1552 is the number to the Struggling Artist Hotline. Give us a call, give us a text, let us know how we're doing. Tell me that I gave you the right number. And that will be it. Well, it's time to get out of here with a song. Damndest was great enough to give us a track to play. This is one of their newer songs. It is called Until You're Free. Until next week, take care of yourselves. We'll talk to you then.